So it has been a year since I started playing Warframe, and I do not regret it one bit. But what helped me was all of the kind commenters and veterans that gave me advice along the way. Well, I want to try my best to pay it forward as a somewhat recent beginner, not really anymore. I want to give some beginner friendly advice that I think could benefit a new player. Now, I'm not saying these are the most important things to know because they are not, and I'm certainly not going to be one of those people that say, here are the top 10 things you must do to be good at the game. Yeah, I ain't doing that. This is simply the best advice I can give on stuff that I recently experienced, and I think that could just be very useful to know. Some of it may help you, some of it may not, but overall, just keep in mind this is what I think when it comes to decent advice. So, with that being said, let's begin. So to start it off, I want to talk about the game as a whole and some things you should maybe know before you play. Now this is not to discourage you from playing the game, I want everyone that is slightly interested to give it a chance. Honestly, the more players the better, and I think the game is extremely fun for everyone, but some things may not be too good, so it would be helpful to know before playing. So keep in mind there is a lot of crafting in the game, meaning you will craft something and it actually takes time to complete, like real life time. Now for me personally, there is so much to do in the game that crafting usually doesn't lock you out of doing stuff unless you are at the very end game and need certain resources for a build. Just whatever you do, don't waste your platinum or spend money to rush it because the longest time is a 3-day wait. But really, that isn't bad. Most things take a lot less time. So while you wait on things to craft, there are thousands of hours of stuff to do. There's a hard mode, and there is like about 200 some missions to complete the normal mode, along with 200 plus missions in the hard mode. There are over 62 warframes to check out, plus their prime variants, hundreds of weapons to try, at least 5 different game modes, hundreds of farms to complete, a ton of pets to collect, and many, many more. Trust me, I am at 1,140 hours, and I am still nowhere close to finishing or collecting everything. Also, this is very much a PvE game. There's a tiny bit of PvP, but it just might as well not exist. This game also can get complicated, so don't give up, because there's a huge community behind Warframe that is extremely nice and is willing to answer and help where they can. So don't let that potential complicatedness get in the way of trying this game. Lastly, one of my favorite things about this game is it can be played both in single and multiplayer. Now I know most games can do this, but this is a live service game similar to Destiny, but we aren't going to get into how this is better than Destiny, other than everything can be played by yourself, which Destiny obviously doesn't do, which stops players like me from enjoying the game fully. Now onto some general knowledge in the game. I won't go in depth to the point where it would spoil anything, since these are just general tips that can help pretty much anywhere. Though if you never played the game before, it may spoil a mechanic or two, but in the long run, it really doesn't spoil anything, I guess. So in general, as soon as you can, join a clan. Preferably a clan that has everything unlocked. By doing so, it will save you a ton of time unlocking things. Clans have weapons, warframes, and other nice things to make your gameplay just a little more enjoyable. So knocking out that first hurdle of unlocking these things by joining a good clan will save you a tremendous amount of time. Unless you want to unlock it all yourself, then, I respect you for that. Joining a clan also gives a little space where you can ask questions and other things if need be. It's sort of like joining a community, which is another thing you should join. Things like Discord, like the one linked below, can help improve the experience by making friends or meeting veterans that could help you with some activities or other things. All you have to do is say you're a noob and the veterans will jump to your rescue faster than a dog to food, or at least my dog. Lastly, this game is heavy on events, which typically do repeat, so you won't miss out on much things. But as soon as you can, I highly recommend you take advantage of them. Doing these events can give special rewards and sometimes fast track you on getting something that typically may take longer to do. Also, there are just a bunch of exclusive items, so you don't want to miss out on that. Now, there are a few terms you should learn when it comes to playing the game. Most of these terms I was not told, so I ended up having to look them up myself, or have been corrected as time goes on. These are not complicated, so no need to worry, but you'll just need to remember these eventually. So for trading with other players in the trade chat, you generally want to use 3 different lingos: WTS, which is willing to sell, WTT is willing to trade, and WTB is willing to buy. These are pretty self-explanatory as what they mean, but don't get them confused because someone will surely call you out for doing it wrong, and there's some mean people that don't like it if you do it wrong. These next two are specifically for relic opening or finding someone to help with missions. So with this, you can go into the recruiting tab and request people's help. So H will be for hosting and LF is looking for. This simplifies the text so messages can be typed faster. Keep in mind some people get annoyed if you don't use this correctly, so try using it correctly. Lastly, there's just a few other abbreviated things other than abbreviated game modes, which we're not going to get into all of that, but we're just going to talk about the ease of communication. There's only two more things, which we have BP, which is blueprint. If you play other games, you would obviously know that. And we also have SP, which is steel path. But overall, these are kind of just the things, to me at least, that you should know, and they're more commonly used for better communication, and it's kind of the need to know lingo within the game. When it comes to mods, I am not the guy for that. Though I do have some build videos out there that work well for me, but if you don't want to rely on taking other people's builds, then you need to learn how to build yourself, which there are plenty of good videos out there, or I am sure that there are some nice veterans that will explain it to you somewhere in the game or in communities. Just keep in mind when you follow a build video shown online, watch out for min-maxing. This is where someone goes to do every little thing to make a weapon or a build as powerful as possible, which in most cases people won't do. So it may make it look like the build you're using isn't as powerful as it should be, so just watch out for that. Lastly, experiment. There is nothing wrong with experimenting, and personally I think if the build works for you and you can handle the high level content or whatever content you want to, then use it and don't let people say whether it is right or not. Yeah, there might be better ways to do it, but that's why you test. So just keep testing and testing until you find something that works for you. Next, we're going to talk about Endo. Since we are talking about mods, it's crucial that we just talk about Endo, and we will talk about it for quite a bit. So it's a very important resource when it comes to making weapons and warframes better through the use of mods. Endo isn't rare, but it isn't common. What makes it really hard is how much Endo you need when it comes to upgrading certain mods. There are many ways to get Endo, mainly from normal missions when killing enemies and opening containers, but to get a whole lot that isn't reliable in the short term. Maybe in the long run you can get a great amount, but if you need Endo now, you may need to farm a few areas. For me, there are really three options for reliable Endo drops: Railjack, Arbitrations, and Bounties. Now Railjack is fun, but for me personally, a few runs is all I can do at a time. The way it goes is you just need to do a high level mission in Vale Proxima or somewhere around there, and mainly rely on the Railjack pieces that drop from enemies in the high level rounds. And the pieces do sell for a good amount of Endo, so this kind of makes it a nice reliable source for that resource. The only thing to know about Railjack is, once again, it may get boring and repetitive. Along with that, it does take some time and effort to acquire your Railjack and get to the point to get those high level rewards. So early on, this may not be the way to go, but lastly, it does require some luck. So if you are unlucky, you may not get a ton of Endo. It just kind of depends. Next is Arbitrations. This requires you to get every node on your star chart complete, so it does take some time, but this is one of the best Endo farms out there, and frankly, I really love doing them. The rewards in this are a certain amount of Endo sometimes, an item sculpture, mods, arcanes, or even some Vitus Essence. And Vitus Essence is a whole other thing. While doing arbitrations, you can collect them to save up and buy things in the arbitration shop. This gives exclusive rewards along with the item sculptures and other things like that. It's not hugely a part of Endo farming, but it is a great dual farm for multi rewards. But keep in mind, arbitrations change its mission every hour. The missions can range from multiple endless missions. However, as soon as you die, then the game ends unless you are doing it in multiplayer. You will not be able to play it again until the next hour once you die or end the mission. So it may be smart to continue as long as you can. So if you play it correctly, by the time you're done with the arbitration, another will be ready for you to play, which overall will get you a lot of Endo. Lastly, I think bounties are really nice, as throughout the game there are many bounties for many different levels. so there should always be a bounty for you. Now, the higher level you are, the more Endo you get, of course, and it's not the most reliable when it comes to getting Endo, but you are essentially knocking out 2 birds with 1 stone. So when you're getting rewards, the most notable ones are weapon parts, Warframe parts, Endo, and Aya, along with the standing. This makes doing these missions even more worth it, even though Endo isn't guaranteed. Like I said, you'll also be getting standing, which allows you to level up your syndicates, which can also give you access to nice items. Just keep in mind it may be a waste of time to keep farming them once your daily standing limit ran out. Now, there are a few different bounties to choose from. First are the Cetus and Fortuna bounties. They come in a different variety, but they range from having about 3 to 5 different tasks, with each one giving you a reward. Plus, if you complete bonus objectives throughout this bounty, you get a bonus reward. On top of that, they give a set amount of standing. Then you have Deimos, which follows the same bounty type with the 3 to 5 objectives. However, it gives mother tokens instead of standing. Mother tokens are turned in for standing, meaning you could non-stop grind the bounties and just pile up mother tokens without having to stop because of the standing limit. The Zariman bounties combine this in your normal missions, and the bounties just kind of change from 6 different missions you play on the Zariman. Each mission has an objective to change it up, but when the mission is complete, you get a void plume or get multiple void plumes, which gives some standing. So it's kind of similar to the Deimos ones, but it's also a little bit different. During these missions, you can also find more void plumes, but sometimes it just may be out of the way. This mission type is nice as the missions can be completed way faster than Cetus, Fortuna, and Deimos. Finally, with the last 2 sets of bounties, they are similar to the Zariman, but it's also combined a little bit with the Cetus and Fortuna bounties. This is the Kavia bounties and the Hex bounties. So overall, they are just like the Zariman, where they take normal missions for the bounty. However, they give a set amount of standing just like Cetus and Fortuna. But you can also find items to turn in for even more standing while playing the bounties. Personally, for me, I prefer Hex bounties since they don't feel too bad when playing. I usually will play any game mode, unlike the Kavia and Zariman bounties. Plus, you get around 3,000 to 4,000 Endo on the tier 5 and 6 bounties. But I guess it is just preference when it comes to which bounties you like doing, but personally, I do recommend the Hex bounties. One more thing to keep in mind when it comes to bounties, it is complete RNG, so you may be very unlucky and not get any Endo for a few days worth of bounties, or you may get four Endo drops in a row. It's just completely up to chance, but despite the odds, it isn't half bad for an Endo farm. Now, Endo is nice and all, but you do need credits when you are using Endo, so what are some ways to make them credits? Well, technically there really is only one good way to get them, but it isn't the only way, I guess. So we're gonna talk about bounties again, and yeah, I already mentioned the types before this, so we are just gonna skip past that little bit. So overall, the only good bounties are the Hex bounties, which can get around 100k credits per run. That's genuinely not bad. The Zariman and Kavia bounties do not make as much, but they're still also not as bad, and could be a decent way for quick credits. The other bounties are kind of worthless for credits, so I wouldn't even look into doing those. Next, you could sell some random crap you don't need, like extra blueprints you get while doing bounties or farming other things, especially the Haro chassis from the farming the Void Relics. Now, this isn't as reliable as the bounties and the next one I'll mention, but over time you may save up a couple million in just blueprints. Lastly is the index. You unlock this on Neptune and it's pretty handy. Like, you can just kind of gamble a certain amount of money, and as long as you're at least decent, you get a greater amount back. And it's really nice, especially when you get to higher levels, so you just keeps on getting easier as you go. You could even get people to carry you through it, which will yield you even higher amounts if you stay in for longer. You might want some credit blessings, credit boosters when you do this, but yeah, it's pretty good. But just keep in mind, if you lose the money you wagered, so that is a negative, but from my experience, as long as you know what you're doing, you probably won't lose that often. Now, as many of you somewhat learned, Void Relics are a big thing in this game as well. These allow you to get Forma blueprints, which help in upgrading your gear, and this also gets you prime items, which prime items are essentially an enhanced version of the weapon or warframe, and are generally better, but just by a little bit. There are a total of 6 drops from each relic, 3 commons, 2 uncommons, and 1 rare. There is a 76% for a common drop, a 22% chance for an uncommon, and a 2% chance for a rare. Along with that, they can be upgraded to increase the odds of the drops. These upgrades can be accessed by void traces, which you get by opening relics. The base relic is known as Intact. The 3 upgrades are known as Exceptional, Flawless, and Radiant. Exceptional gives a 70% chance at common, 26% chance at uncommon, and 4% chance at rare. Flawless gives a 60% chance at a common, 34% chance at uncommon, and 6% chance at rare. And Radiant gives a 50% chance at common, 40% at uncommon, and 10% at a rare. With these upgrades to the relics, it helps get those rare drops, making it not that bad of a farm, but what makes it even better is rad shares. Rad shares is where you get a group of 4 people who are running the exact same relic or similar relics that give you the exact same drop that you want. The relics that the group run will usually be Radiant. Sometimes people do Intact runs, but it isn't as common. Getting a group together for this is easiest if going through a Discord or in the recruiting chat. It may take a little while to find a group, but it is very worth it, essentially giving you 4 chances at the rare that you want. Now, if you're very unlucky, then you ain't getting the drop for a while, but if you are lucky, you'll get it quite easily. When it comes to relics, another essential thing is Aya. Aya is used during a thing called Prime Resurgence, where Prime Warframes and gear that are not obtainable anymore through the basic game because they were vaulted will now be available during a month. It's usually 2 primes at a time, so that's why you want Aya to get those relics for these primes. Now, that being said, there isn't a lot of ways to get Aya, but there are some reliable ways. So first, you could get lucky and get one from completing a mission. You are more likely to get a relic instead, but these have to be from the Void mission specifically. But there's always a chance for Aya, but like I said, you'll more likely get a relic. Along with that, there are more reliable ways, which are bounties, but not the Hex, Kavia, or Zeraman bounties. Now, they do have a decent chance for Aya, mainly because they have not as much loot in their loot pools and can be gotten at a somewhat decent rate. Along with that, you only get 1 reward, so that's what kind of ruins the rate of getting it. But overall, these just aren't the best way to go about getting Aya, so I would just completely ignore these bounties. But obviously, Cetus, Fortuna, and Deimos bounties are way better than the other ones. Now overall, Cetus and Deimos are probably the better way to go. Fortuna isn't bad, but their bounties kind of suck, so that's what kind of makes the other 2 better. So each tier bounty has a chance for Aya. The best part of these bounties are that they give 1 reward each time an objective is completed, giving about 3 to 5 chances for Aya each bounty. This also makes it perfect for Aya farming, especially when you can get a bonus reward if you complete all the bonus objectives, which is not like needed, but it's actually pretty good. Lastly, when it comes to materials and essential things in the game, there's platinum, which isn't technically essential. So platinum is a premium currency that can be acquired in the game for free somehow and purchased with cold hard cash. To get in the game, it requires you to trade with other people who actually have platinum, but this requires you to sell stuff. Now please, for the love of God, use Warframe Market to trade. It's a fairly easy platform to use. You can set stuff onto the website that you're selling or that you're willing to buy. Most people use it for selling. I use it for selling. And you can also set yourself as online in-game, or invisible, so other people know like whether they should contact you or not. Now just keep in mind, if you are set to invisible, people may try trading with you anyway, mainly because they want better deals, but they obviously can't read. But this is overall way better than trade chat, which people in there will try scamming new players, so be careful. So things to sell that rewards a good amount of platinum is prime parts. You can sell these both in sets or by themselves, and of course some sell more than others, so you may want to check to see what other people are selling them for. But selling these parts are the most common way to get platinum for almost every player. You can also sell rare mods, more so ones linked with Orc Vaults, but any legendary mods, depending on how good it is, could be worth selling. These may not be as valuable as prime parts, but it is still something you could sell for some plat. Oh, and if you sell them maxed out, like just pump in a bunch of Endo to them, then you could get even more platinum out of them. Next is Iton sculptures, which really depends on what you use them for. I, for one, don't really use them, though I should, so it may be better for me to sell them. And if you do sell them, it is generally better to do the same thing you do with mods and fully put in all the stars to upgrade, but either way, you can still get platinum from them. Another thing that rewards a little bit of platinum, but is incredibly reliable, is fishing and mining gems. This is probably the most ridiculous one, but if you don't mind mining or fishing like I do, then you could sell it to people on Warframe Market, and it could reward you with some platinum slowly but surely, of course. The only problem with this is that you don't get a lot per trade, and you do have limited trades a day, but if that doesn't bother you, then go ahead and start selling them. Now there are more things you could sell, like arcanes, which are similar to mods, but I'm not going to repeat myself just because it's a different word. But basically, the way I see it is the more you sell, the better, because you get a better overall shot of selling things for platinum. It's like oversaturating the market to the point that someone is bound to buy something from you. Just keep in mind you may get a lot of messages at once doing this, but people usually understand if they have to wait. Now, Warframe does have some useful tools that you can use when it comes to your Warframe journey. Each has their upsides and some have their downsides. On top of that, I have tried out all of them, so I kind of know what they are about. So first is Overframe. So Overframe you really shouldn't trust, like really don't trust it. I swear this website may not know its head from its ass sometimes, but anyway, it does have one decent feature. You can essentially use it to make a build for weapons and such stuff like that if you want to be able to see the stats or kind of picture it without going into the game. It doesn't really show stats from Archon shards and like the incarnate perks that you could choose for some weapons, but overall it is better than nothing and it's a decent place to start. But once again, don't trust everything else on it. Next is Frame, which people do claim you could be banned or something for using it, which isn't really the case as long as you follow the terms of service stuff. Now, I don't use it, it just isn't what I need or doesn't have the things I need for it, but I will say it is quite a helpful tool. For starters, it can show everything you can craft at the moment. On top of that, it can show the things you've already crafted and the things you've mastered and all of that jazz. Basically, it links up with what you have in the game and you can filter through a bunch of results that could potentially help you. It also shows the platinum drops in game for relics, like the platinum you could get by selling the weapons on Warframe Market, or the parts on Warframe Market. It also shows ducats, so that's something. And speaking of Warframe Market, it does have a LinkedIn connection to Warframe Market, so to some people it's easier doing that and setting up things to trade, though it does have some glitches, so I've heard. I haven't experienced it myself yet though. Lastly, it does have ads, which I know some people aren't a huge fan of. I'm a neutral party when it comes to that, but it is good to keep in mind so that you can just kind of determine whether you want to use it or not. Now on to Warframe Market, which I probably should have talked about this sooner, but I have mentioned it a few times, and Warframe Market is just a website not directly corresponded with Warframe, but it's a very, very useful site. Now to start off, all you have to do is link your account, which you have to do with some more forum magic stuff, but it really isn't hard to do as long as you can read. So basically you can set up buys and sells. Buys shows that you are willing to buy something that you can set a price at that you're willing to buy it for. Then sells is just as self-explanatory as you can list what you want to sell and how much of it you have and how much it is. Now, people don't really read that part, I've realized, but this kind of shows the potential buyers what you are offering. You can also get reputation where people can leave reviews. It may not matter a huge amount, but it is nice to have a high reputation and you can be messaged on the website as well. So just keep that in mind when you're playing the game, because you could get in trouble with Warframe Market if you don't respond to those messages, which I think is kind of stupid because I'm not always looking at that browser. So yeah. Another one is Frame Hub, which I don't know who all knows about it and who uses it, but I actually like it. It may not be the most accurate, but it is a nice checklist type site where you can check off everything you've fully mastered. Frame kind of does that, but I prefer this one as a better option in my opinion. Lastly is the wiki. This is one of, if not the most important tool for your Warframe journey. This tells you where things drop, how you get things, lore, and even strategies to think about. It's quite literally a Wikipedia for Warframe. Just don't use the fandom one, we don't trust that. Use the actual wiki. Like there is an official wiki, official Warframe wiki, so use that one instead, yeah. So to end this off, I have some generic advice that I learned when playing for this past year. First off, don't get overwhelmed. There are a crap ton of things in the game, way more than most people think. I am still nowhere close to completing everything in the game, and I have been playing for 1,140 hours, so it will be tempting to try completing everything you can, which could possibly overwhelm you. To help with that, I recommend writing things down, whether it's on Google Docs or paper. Write things down to organize your thoughts. Lists that tell you what you want to do or work on next. You could even make a list of everything you want to get. Just stay organized to avoid the overwhelming amount of stuff in the game. On top of that, do one thing at a time. Splitting your focus on multiple things can be a struggle with this game. Now, there are some things you could do at the same time, like hex bounty farming and completing the hex calendar, but trying to do things like trying to save up credits and farm a certain Warframe and getting the materials for a weapon, giving yourself all these tasks overall will cause some confusion. That's why I recommend doing one thing at a time. That's why I believe you should play at your own pace and play how you want. Do what you want to do when you want to. There's no wrong way to playing the game. People may tell you otherwise, but it's a video game. It's meant for the player's enjoyment. So if you want to play with every Warframe out there before completing the story, then do it. If you want to rush the story, then quit the game, do it. Just do what you think is fun. There are plenty of passionate people on Warframe that may tell you to do some things and other things first, and sometimes that can get overwhelming in its own right. You should still consider what they are saying, as it could be useful advice, but you are still not forced to listen to them. So play how you want, because it's your game, you are in control. But lastly, have fun. Do what you find enjoyment with. Do what makes you have the most fun. Many people will take this game maybe a little too seriously, and they find enjoyment out of it. You might or you may not. That's the great part of this game. You don't have to take it seriously as other people. And lastly, have as much fun as you can. Do what you find enjoyment with. Do what makes you have the most fun. Many people take this game seriously. I sometimes do take this game a little seriously, and they find enjoyment out of it. Some people collect stuff and they find enjoyment out of it. Some people just play the game to play the game and they have enjoyment out of it. You might do some of this stuff, you might find your own way. That's the great part about this game, is that there's a crap ton of things that can make the game enjoyable for anyone. So find what you enjoy and just have fun. So that is my advice for a beginner from a somewhat not really recent beginner. So I hope this helped and I hope you enjoyed. This isn't necessarily all the best things to follow when it comes to completing the game, but it could help varying off your playstyle. So with that being said, thank you for watching. Maybe like, maybe subscribe, and maybe join the Discord link below. I don't really give a crap as always. So anyway, I guess I'll just see you in the next video.